evening, Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest in our podcast show, Cherry Picking. Of course, I have got the gruesome twosome with me again, as normal. It is good to see Mr. Chris Rawlings here, the Dorset picker. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. You?
Excellent. Yeah, all good, all good. And you've got a special show coming up very, very soon with somebody who also, you could say, is a Dorset picker, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got Mr. Lawrence Martin on, who's based over in America. Grew up as a Bournemouth fan, moved over there to do his successful TV career and antique career. So yeah, that was a good interview. Keep your eyes peeled for that one.
That will be going out at 7:00 this evening as well. And it is a pleasure to have on Matt Harrison. You all right, Matt?
I'm all good. All good. I haven't got any exciting interviews coming up like Chris, but hey, we'll go with it.
Yeah. Well, as everybody probably saw from last night, I did interview Simon Day. Let's not call him Simon Day. Let's call him Dave Angel. Dave Angel from the Fast Show. And to be honest, go on, guys, give us your best Dave Angel impressions, because I'll start with Chris because I know Matt's very good at this.
I can't do one, to be fair.
Oh, come on, give it a go.
I never watched the Fast Show.
Kiddie ain't lived.
No, he hasn't lived. He hasn't lived.
I'll tell you what, I've got the box set, Chris. I'll lend you the box set. Hours of fun. Actually, you go around enough boot sales, you should be able to find it.
Yeah, you find it there,
yeah. Go on, Matt. You do a fantastic Dave Angel impression.
I'll give it a go. Here we go. Right. Dave Angel, Eco Warrior. That's the best you're getting out of me.
Shall I give it a go?
Go on, you give it a go.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Dave Angel, Eco Warrior. I'm going down to Dean Court this weekend to go and watch AFC Bournemouth versus Real Sociedad. I nearly butchered their name. But I'm sure we're going to win. You know, I think that I can't think of anything else. You know, I think we should just leave that one to Simon Day. But I'll try and do the. No, that's not even any fucking good.
Just join me and not done it.
Should we move on? And we better give a shout out to our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So now we've got that bit out of the way. Of course, we also had Harry Redknapp as well on the show. It is a 2-hour and 15-minute show. Well, just shy of that. But there is fan reactions from every team. From what you've seen, guys, you know, who do you think is the most optimistic and pessimistic fans?
What? Everton are pretty pessimistic, aren't they?
Yeah.
To be fair. And Well, there's a fair few that are pretty optimistic, but the show's very good. Harry's very good on it. It's a great. I think that's a great show, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Matt?
You can listen to Harry all day talk football, can't you? Whether it's like transfers or stories that he's had during the game. Yeah, for me, obviously it's the same old teams that are optimistic, isn't it? Obviously, Man United, Man City, or Liverpool. You know, those are the ones that are going to be at the top two. But I mean, after watching last night and knowing who signed who, do you know what? I wouldn't write off Arsenal and Tottenham having a good season this year. I think under Conte now he's had a transfer window and he's brought several faces in, and plus with the squad he's already got anyway. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if you saw Tottenham and Arsenal really pushing for that top four. And same with United, even though they've made a few additions. I saw United friendly on the telly the other day, just highlights of it. And they're looking really good as well. So I think the top six next year is going to be very, very interesting.
And of course, we have today at 3:00 made the Dorset live pages as well. So the AFC Bournemouth live pages. So great big thanks to Dan for putting that out as well. We're going to go on to the away kit in a moment, but just in case for anybody who hasn't seen it, what we'll do is we're just going to play the trailer so you can have a look. And by all means, after watching this show, do watch. You know, some part you might want to do it in a number of parts because it is a long show. Or you might want to watch it 2 hours straight. It's entirely up to you. But let me play that trailer now. Yeah, so there we go, everybody. That is what we've been up to so far this week. It's been busy again. It's probably going to be busy next week. But yeah, some exciting stuff. So Shall we have a chat about this away kit? Of course, we did the kit review show the other day, and we assessed that this was a very, very nice shirt. And of course, ahead of his fight on Saturday, there's a man who is wearing that shirt. He's even got on the side of the arm as well the DeWalt's logo as well. I think he's probably tapped up the club to get that first dibs, don't you think, guys?
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right for some, isn't it? It's all right for some. What's your verdict on it, Chris?
Yeah, very, very, very nice shirt. It's up there with probably like one or two of my favourite away shirts. I like this shirt a lot. Like one of my most recent away shirts is one of my favourites. Apart from that, probably like yellow coaches is like my favourite away shirt. So that's up there with it, in my opinion. So I'll be getting it on Saturday.
And Matt, you love it, don't you?
Yeah. Like I said the other night, it's a 5-star shirt. Definitely.
Yeah, day one buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some. Mostly, it was all positive reaction on Twitter. There was a couple of people that were moaning about it, but of course, I think it's going back a bit into the 90's styles as well, isn't it? Where they're a little bit more out there and a little bit more exciting. And, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think this season's shirt choice is really good. They're all, if anybody wants just a plain bog standard football shirt, you've got the third kit, haven't you? It's not exciting. It's sleek and it's still a nice shirt, but it's that's for somebody that doesn't want anything that's too out there. The home shirt, I like the home shirt because it's got a different design to normal, with the zigzaggy type effect. But the away shirt is very nice.
It's a pub shirt, like we said before, so it's a nice shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing I think we better cover off is, of course, the Fantasy Football League. So, how many people are in there now, Chris?
19, I believe.
19.
Matt's been pushing it quite well this week.
Excellent. And it is forever growing. Of course, I've been very, very busy. So, to be honest, I'm probably most guilty of not pushing it so much. But go on, Chris, you do the honours. Tell us of how we can get involved.
Okay, so very easy. Just download the Sky Sports Fantasy Football app. Pick your team. Very easy. Pick whoever you want. I think it's maximum of 3 players from the same team. And then once you've completed your team, just go up to the top of the page where it says Join League. Click the plus and then add our PIN. So 10937318. And then that adds you to our league. And then like we'll be doing regular shout outs for teams that are doing well. Maybe even teams that are not doing so well to give you a reminder to maybe change your team for the following week. And as Craig told you last week, there'll be the shite trophy for the winner and the prize.
Yeah, we've got to have the shite trophy. The shite trophy, the prize is going to be a little bit more exciting, but the shite trophy is going to be shit. But you might want it on your mantelpiece as a memory of winning the Up the Cherries in all departments prediction league. Well, Fantasy Football League or whatever you call it. Before we go on to the main topic as well, nobody's guessed this yet, but let's look at cherry picking. Who am I? So, who wants to do the honours?
Matt, want to do it? Read it out this time.
What are we going with this one again? Are we?
Yeah, we're going to see if anyone can do it
because nobody's guessed it right.
So, who am I? Came through the youth system. Made my first team debut away from home, aged 17. Played 16 times, but only started once. Went to a local non-league club after leaving AFCB. And most recently, been playing and coaching in Australia.
So, please do get involved. Tell us who you think that is.
I may chuck in another official clue, if that's all right.
Go on, throw in another official clue.
Okay, and he also played right wing. He was a right winger.
There we are. Well, let's see if anybody can get it this week. But the topic for today is our favourite Cherries teams of the 90s. And the 90s, a period, of course, we had some success, but also we had some disasters as well. Of course, Winter Gardens and things like that, where everything could have gone quite wrong, put nicely. It feels like a million miles away from where we are now, but we can't forget our roots. So, who wants to go first?
I'm happy to. Let's go.
Yeah,
Right.
Matt go.
Let's rock and roll. And look at this. He's done perfect slides again. He's done perfect slides again. He's good at this, Matt. Whereas me, I stick a couple of pictures together and that's about it, really. So let's go with the men between the sticks. And he got a couple of options there. Go on, talk through it. Oh, I recognise one man straight away.
Yes, our friend Vince, who was on the other night. First goalkeeper that I can remember watching, to be fair. I can't really remember any specific game. I was too young, but my first goalkeeper I can remember seeing was Ian Andrews. He come in for a season, and of course then you've got the legend himself, Jimmy, who kept goal for us towards the end of the 90s, and at the very end of the 90s, Mark Ovendale come in, replaced Jimmy. Was a very, very good shot stopper, very good all-round goalkeeper. So yeah, the man that gets the job between the sticks for me from the 90s would be Mark Ovendale.
Awesome. Well, let's go on to, and there we are, Mark Ovendale. Was quite a lot of clubs, wasn't he? Reliable, wasn't he?
He was very much travelled. When he came in at Bournemouth, he definitely had a lot of people looking at him. He put in some real good performances over the 2 seasons or season and a bit that he was there. Obviously, at the time, Luton were throwing a bit of money around, and I think they signed him for just under £500,000. I think it was about £425,000. And at the time, that was the type of business the club were having to do, because obviously, you bring these players in on frees or very minimal transfers, and then you'd always sell them on for a profit. At the time, it was the way the club kind of survived and tried to keep his head above water. But he was a fantastic shot stopper, all good round, all good goalkeeper. He was good. He coming for crosses, distributing the ball. Just for me, an all-round fantastic goalkeeper. I'd love to have put Jimmy in, just because of Jimmy's character. He's great, Jimmy. But if you're looking at it from an all-round goalkeeping perspective, I don't think there was anyone better in that decade than Mark Ovendale.
Yeah, completely agree. Agree with that. What do you reckon, Chris?
Yeah, 100% Mark Ovendale.
Let's have a look at your defenders then, Matt. So some names there, of course. One, not just Cherries fans, but every single fan across the Premier League will recognise. And I think we know who he is.
Yes, a young Mr. Howe. Sporting the one of my favourite away strips there. So it has to be a contender. If you go back, you got Mark Morris, fantastic defender, was my first favourite player, to be fair. Captain of the side as well. he was never scared to throw himself in at any kind of challenge, come off with some quite nasty injuries over the years because he was very, very brave. Classic left back, you got Paul Morell. Now with Paul, I don't really remember any. It's like similar to Vince. I don't remember many games because I think he sort of left around the 93 period, I think it was. So very early days of watching Bournemouth. So I don't really remember any of his games, but he's got to be in there because he is just a cult hero. Another cult hero, Frank Rowling. That auto windscreen shield run, he'll be forever remembered for that. He's the man that popped up with all the important goals. And I still say to this day, if he'd have played at Wembley that day, I still think we would have won that game.
Yeah, I reckon.
Definitely, because he was just on such a roll in that competition. Jamie Vincent, again, similar to Paul Morell, fantastic left back. Ian Cox, classy defender. AD Pennick's in there. I remember watching AD during the sort of 95-96 season. And always seemed to be at the time quite a reliable defender. Another one that sort of struggled with injuries. And of course, Neil Young. Got to be in there. Fantastic servant for the club. Always a consistent player. During the 90s, had a very good partnership with John Bailey down the right. Very famous for their overlapping and their attacking and their the way they created chances for us down that right flank. They were quite deadly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the contenders.
Let's have a look.
Obviously, right back has to go to Neil Young. Pretty much was at Bournemouth for most of his career. Made over 430 appearances. He came on a free from Spurs. Like I say, great partnership down the right flank with John Bailey. And he was alongside Fletcher, out of the modern day players, he's probably, one of the most loyal players that the club's had.
Yeah.
Stayed with the club through thick and thin. And has gone on to have a good career in Australia. Played for Cumberland United and went out there to concentrate on getting his coaching badges, which I still believe he's out there doing now. But Young has got to be the right back of the 90s for me.
Let's have a look at the centre backs.
Yep, Ian Cox got to be in there. Obviously came in for Crystal Palace as a midfielder, got converted into a centre back, and that's where he found his best position. Was never scared to get up for a header. Good in the tackle, but also good with his feet. First guy to obviously captain Bournemouth at Wembley. Again, another player that we brought in on a free that we eventually sold on for $500,000. He went on to Burnley. But for me, Coxey's got to be in there, no doubt.
That doesn't surprise me, to be honest, because I know that he was in your top 5 favourite players, wasn't he, last week? And
yeah, top 5 favourite player. I mean, I don't know what Chris may agree with me. Might have another idea.
Yes, so far the defence looks pretty solid. From the 90s, Coxey and Younger. Yeah.
Let's have a look at the other pair. So,
yeah, Mr. Howe. Very young at the time. But when he broke into the side, just for a player of a young age, I mean, if you forget what he's done in management, but if you just focus on him as a player, for a player of a young age, he had such old head on his shoulders. He was so far forward in his years in terms of his development. Could read the game well from a defensive perspective. Unfortunately, another player that's been destroyed by injuries. Managed to come back from that and returned back to Bournemouth, obviously from Pompey, and had another short spell with us. And even then, you could still see, even with the injuries, he was still a class player. Also, not scared in front of goal. I can remember, I mean, my first recollection of a Howe goal was, I think, in the FA Cup against West Brom.
Yeah.
And I think West Brom were flying in the first division at the time, weren't they, Chris?
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Lee Hughes playing for him up top, who was banging in goals, and Eddie come in and threw himself straight at a header, cracking header. So he's never scared in front of goal. Classy with the ball. So for me, got to be in there. Would love to have put Mark Morris in there because he would have complemented either of these players well. But for me, Eddie just tips it for me over Mark.
And it's an amazing story with regards to Eddie Howe and how he come back to the club, because of course there was the Eddie Share scheme. 21,000 was raised by the fans to actually bring him back to the club. Then of course he went on to be the manager who led us from League Two on that minus 17 points after a disastrous spell under our favourite dog walker, Mr. Quinn. And look at where we are now. And I think after his injuries, he went away and he went and got his coaching badges, did everything he could to put himself in that pole position. If you think back we didn't really have much choice at the time because of the financial situation we was in. But if we was in a better financial place, would Eddie have got his chance? But he went away and did everything he possibly could to make sure that he could lead that on, and I think all the stars aligned, really, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing not to forget about Eddie as well, when he was a youngster, obviously he was capped by England at under 21 level when he went to a tournament. I think it was in France. I think that's right. Toulon tournament in France, and I think he was in the squad with the likes of I think like a young Frank Lampard and players of that kind of caliber. So I mean, when he was in his real young days, like he's pictured in some of these pictures here, I mean, he was a real talent. I mean, for a second division footballer to be spotted by England, it is a big achievement, and for the club at the time as well, it was a big achievement for a homegrown player to get capped under 21 by England.
Definitely. And do you know what, Eddie, if you're watching this and you like this show, get in contact with me. My email address is in the bottom of all the videos, and come on for a chat, because we'd absolutely love to have you on here. I think that would make my day, and I guess you two would agree with that as well.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
Yeah, enough said about that. And then the other defender, so of course
left back. A lot of people would probably, I mean, Paul Morell would probably easily be left back of the 80s without a doubt. Again, like I say, with the amount of games, the first left back I can really, really remember that stands out for me was Jamie Vincent. Absolutely wicked left foot, could deliver a ball from set pieces. Not a bad free kick taker from what I can remember. Another one that wasn't scared to get forward. Good in the tackle. Always seemed that one of the back four that if he was going to leave, it wouldn't surprise you, because he was very talented on that left. And he went on to have a very good career, played at a very decent level for a lot of big clubs. 167 appearances for Bournemouth, 5 goals. That's not a bad return for a left back. And again, another player that we sold in the 90s for £500,000. So again, another good bit of business if you look at it from that perspective. But another young player that we brought in under the likes of Machin, developed and went on to bigger things at the time.
Yeah, definitely. And he'll always be remembered as a legend. Sadly, very recently has passed away. But he'll always be a legend at this football club.
Yeah, definitely.
Now let's go on to the midfielders. So there's some faces there that a lot of people will recognise. So go on, Matt. Wheel away.
Yeah, so you got the obvious ones in there. There's also a surprise one in the bottom bottom left hand corner there. John O'Neill, if we start with him, technically comes as a striker, but Machin used to use him a lot in the midfield. So that's why I've put him in with the midfielders. Very versatile player, could play sort of left midfield, centre midfield, up top. And then if you look at the likes of Russell Beardsmore, come from United, one of Fergie's fledglings. Again, another player that become versatile, even played left back at the club for a while. Another one that unfortunately had to call time due to injury. John Bailey, great tough midfielder. Steve Robinson there, class little player. I think one of Chris's favourites, if I remember rightly, from back in the day.
Yeah.
Had a great ratio of goals for a midfielder for his against his appearances. Was also penalty taker as well, which helped the goal count. But again, another very, very good midfielder. He probably should have played Premier League football at some stage in his career, in my opinion, but unfortunately never did. Young Richard Hughes there, coming from Arsenal. A good defensive-minded midfielder. Always liked to tackle. Then Mr. Showbiz, Scott Mean. As a youngster, showed a hell of a lot of promise. Went off to West Ham. Didn't quite work out for him there, and had another stint with us at Bournemouth. I think he only lasted one season, which under Mel Machin, which I think was a bit harsh, really, because I thought he had a good season that year. I think it was 99-2000 season. I think it was.
Something like that,
yeah, something like that. He come back. Krista Warren, another one that comes as a striker, but he got used more in the midfield. And then eventually, when Jamie Vincent left, was the solution to the left back problem that we had at the time. But played a lot of his time at Bournemouth in midfield as well. And then probably one of the classiest ones of the bunch, Matt Holland, coming from West Ham, and looked absolutely class every time he played, and you can see why he had the career he had. Obviously went to a World Cup and played in the Premier League for quite some time, so he was always destined for bigger things. The ones that squeeze in there, there's one on there actually that squeezed in there that I didn't put a photo of. But he'll have his moment. Obviously, Matt Holland has got to be in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Chris, again, another one of your favourites.
Great player, wasn't he?
From when he was here. And again, another one of those players that he's a bit older than Eddie, but at the time, for young shoulders, had a real intelligent football in mind. And you can always see why Mel Machin made him captain. Because he was an intelligent footballer and a good leader. Obviously, went on, like I say, got capped by the Republic of Ireland 49 times, scored 5 times for them. And again, another player that the club made money on. At the time, I think he equalled the record for a sale, and that was 800,000. And was always going to go on and play at a higher level. If it wasn't for Bournemouth, it was always going to be for somebody else. And obviously, at the time, we weren't in a position to really go up to the first division, and that's when he went off and joined Ipswich. And at the time, the money really did help the club a lot by keeping it afloat.
Shall we have a look at your next midfielder?
Yeah, Steve Robinson. So much potential, this guy. You could see when he come in, he was always going to be one of the first on the team sheet. He could do everything. He could hit long range shots. He could cross a ball. Again, wasn't scared of a tackle. Got capped at full level while he was at Bournemouth, and he was called up to a lot of squads while he was at Bournemouth for Northern Ireland. You always knew when you got a penalty in and Robbo was on the pitch, it'd be very surprising if he missed it, because his penalty ratio was always good for us. Again, went on and played for some bigger clubs like Preston, I think at the time were really pushing to get in the first division. Bristol City, Luton Town, all these clubs at the time were the bigger clubs in the lower league, should we say. But for me, like I say, disappointing thing for me was I always thought at some point you would have seen him in the Premier League. I don't know if Chris agrees with that or not, but
yeah, I agree with that. He always was. He could run the midfield like on his own. He always looked like that.
Yeah. So for me, Robbo's got to be in there. Yeah. Well, you can't have Neil Young without this man, I don't think. John Bailey. Come to the professional game quite late. He played around in the non-league circuit, Croydon and Enfield. Came to Bournemouth and kind of virtually went straight into the team at the time. Obviously, will always be remembered for that famous goal at Wembley. But he was a good, tough tackling midfielder. Was never scared of a tackle. I wouldn't want him tackling me, to be fair, because he'd always come off with the ball and you'd normally come off first if it was a decent 50-50. But 19's icon really for Bournemouth. Unfortunately, cut his career short. I think it was a back injury, that cut his career short, and then he went and had a spell at Brockenhurst, which was a real shame because for the length of time he was in the professional game, it was cruelly cut short for him.
And let's have a look at the final midfielder.
Yeah, Klaus. Coming 98, 99 season, I think it was. I just thought the guy was fantastic. First game I saw him play, beat the man, bit of a trickster. You could see he was a talented player, and a great story with Klaus is he wrote a letter, I think, to all English professional clubs just asking for a trial, and it was only Bournemouth that responded. And he came across, had a trial, and the rest is history. Was part of that side that should have got promoted that year when we had Jermaine Defoe. He had a real good season that year. But yeah, I would say it'd complement my left side very well, I think, in my team of the decade.
See, this is what is missing from football nowadays. Is players doing something like that because of the love of the game, actually writing letters to football clubs. And you've heard so many of them do it in the past, but it doesn't happen anymore. And it's a shame. It's a shame, the way that the game's gone. Hey, if I wrote a letter to, say, for example, Accrington Stanley, Burton, AFC Wimbledon, and Sutton United, would I get a response? Well, probably not, to be honest, knowing me and knowing my injury record, and probably think, you're 36 years old, bugger off. But at the same time, it is missing from the top level of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, shall we go on to Matt's strikers? There's another man that has been on this show, and of course, he's been on the show, of course, because he's an absolute legend. He watches this show, and we absolutely love him to bits.
Yes, there's a few good names there. There's a very young Jamie Hayter there. Was kind of sort of on the fringe around the late 90s. Steve Cottrell, and Ethan Akuku, and obviously the big un.
Biggin, who can forget Biggin?
Was sort of the three strikers that I can sort of remember.
What's that man in the bottom left done? Has he snuck in again?
He's a professional dog walker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you see. You can't. I mean, I could have put Luther Blissett in here as well, but I mean, I don't remember seeing Luther. And obviously, we got to bring our man Jimmy in, didn't we? So
Jimmy, he must love this show. Fletch does generally love this show. I think Jimmy probably curses us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Those strikers there, that obviously early days of watching Bournemouth were the first ones that I can remember, obviously leading the front line. Jonesy, Steve Jones, fantastic striker. I remember a game he had against Chesterfield. I think that day, I think we drew, was it 3-3 we drew? I think last game of the season it was, I think it was sort of around 96. I think we drew 3-3. Did we beat? I can't remember what the result was. But I remember he popped up with a couple of cracking goals in that. Mark Steen, what a coup at the time. He was a real signing. Come in on loan from Chelsea. His loan spell wasn't full of goals.
No,
I think he only scored one goal while he was on loan. But the season after his loan spell, the couple of seasons there, he was quite prolific. And that was a guy at the time, he was coming towards the end of his career, really. I mean, he was sort of mid-30s, I think, at the time. But fantastic striker.
Oh, definitely. And he was always prolific wherever he went, Mark Steen. So
he did have the Premier League. He did have the Premier League record, didn't he, Mark Steen, for a while before I think Ruud van Nistelrooy broke it. I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, big man's got to be in there, isn't he?
We're massaging his ego now.
What else can we say? But that's I believe that's his league appearances and his league goals total there. 628 and 103, but
he'll put us right if not.
I'm sure he'll correct us.
Yes, you'll be in trouble if not.
I mean, how can you not put him in there? Through every season of the 90s since he joined, he was always part of the squad. Obviously, unless he was injured, but he was always a big part of the squad. And that when he forged his partnership with Mark Steen, that was a great partnership. Big man, little man. It's sort of the late 90s where you could see the real quality come out in Fletcher. He was really maturing as a striker. And obviously developing a lot more to his game. Like I say, what more can we say about Mr. Bournemouth? There's nothing we can say, really, is there? I mean, he is just forever a legend, but
he will always be a legend at this football club, and it's great that he's still here. Of course, he's just had his 50th birthday as well. A lovely man, absolutely lovely man, so down to earth. Nobody can say a bad word about him. So yeah, he's rightly, well, to be honest, he's probably the first name that I would put straight into the side. So
yeah, I mean,
that says it all.
He probably would even be a contender for team of the noughties as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think you got to put him in that as well.
Oh yeah,
I think you have to put him in the team of the noughties as well.
Yeah, definitely.
How many players do that? Over
playoff
2 decades.
Playoff final goal, Grimsby goal. Just for those two alone, you've got to be in it.
Yeah, you'd have to be.
So
but how many players, can you say in 2 decades, over 2 decades, would be in the team of each of those decades?
Well, not many around the country, I don't expect.
No,
not many.
It shows how important he is to us.
Probably just like people like Letizia down the road,
Yeah.
He's probably one of probably Fletcher and Letizia. There's probably not many others.
Yeah, probably.
Lovely shot there of the old main stand as well.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we've got the figure right this week, Fletch. If we haven't, just message me and I'll give you Matt's mobile number. I'm sure actually Matt will probably want to hear from you. So I think he'd be quite happy with that. And the other striker.
Yeah, Stevie Jones, quality player. Yeah, like I was saying about the game that I saw him play against Chesterfield at home. He was a good finisher, good all round finisher. Very different striker to Fletch. But I mean, another player that had a good ratio for goals. I mean, 79 appearances. I think he scored 29 times, which ain't a bad return. The striker. I mean, his loan spell was really prolific. I think he played 5 games on his loan spell and scored 4 goals. I think it was.
Yeah.
Which at the time there was a lot of talk about Bournemouth actually signing him again, and I think if Bournemouth had signed him then, he would have scored absolute bag loads of goals that season because he was on fire when he come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that rounds off my team of the 90s pretty nicely.
There it is.
So
yeah, very nice.
So if I was to, obviously, me and Chris had a little chat, said about substitutes. So yeah, for me, Vince, our friend Vince, put him in there as ahead of Jimmy. It was a really hard one to choose, but I think because Vince is such a lovely guy, he's got to go in there. Paul Morell, definitely without a doubt. Mark Morris, Russell Beardsmore, again, versatile player. Career cut tragically short by John O'Neill, a Scotsman. He had a very good career back up in Scotland when he went back up there. I think he came to us from Celtic. But yeah, again, another versatile player, so he could play. He gives you the option up top, gives you the option in midfield. Mark Steen, got to be in there, and he got to be in there. If it weren't for Jonesy, Steeno would have been in. And then I think to round it off, it's nice to have one of the future at the time there. James Hayter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, later known for that hat trick against Wrexham.
Yeah, and the 4 goals away at Bury.
Oh yes, not forgetting that.
Yeah.
But then another one that would be a contender for team of the noughties.
There'd be a lot for that. That would be a good one to do on there.
I think we should do that. Should do that. Of course, next week we'll reveal the plans for next week in a second. But just whilst we've been doing that, just a really nice message that I've just had from Harry Redknapp. So yeah, thank you so much, Harry, for your time the other day, and for actually being on our show. It's absolute pleasure as always to talk to you. So wanted to put that out on there. Luckily, he hasn't mentioned the bet as yet, because of course my logic there was, of course, Eddie. After Eddie took over, if you take from the start from that point to the end of the season, Newcastle would have finished about third. So that's where I assessed it. But I'm sensible enough not to bet against Harry Redknapp because he knows a little bit more than I do, to be fair. So, shall we go on to Chris's team of the 90s?
Yeah, cool.
There we go. And Chris has only got the one slide, but go on, talk through it. Look, there's some.
Hold on, is he copied mine?
So this is very similar. This is very similar to Matt's, obviously, for very similar reasons. So we've gone for Mark Ovendale in goal. Obviously, what can you say other than what Matt said, really? Good catcher of the ball, good distribution, great shot stopper, saved a few penalties, if I remember rightly. Good all-round player. And he was very good at, his communication with the defence was really good. You could always hear him. He always shouted loud, didn't he?
Of course,
yeah. He was very vocal.
And then, obviously, right back, there was nobody else to contend with this because I think Neil Young pretty much played after 94. I think he played pretty much every game until the end of the 90s. Mm-hmm. So, and like you said, the connection he had with John Bailey in the 90s and then Wade Elliott in the early 2000s, he was unreal down that side, I know we didn't score many goals, but at least we can say we were there for a couple of them. Those scored a couple of belters, didn't he? When he did score, they were the corner routine, played along the floor, stepped over by someone, and then belted into the top corner.
Yeah, I do remember him scoring a very good goal against Leicester in a friendly.
Yeah.
Which obviously don't count towards your professional record, but he could hit it if he wanted to. He could hit it, and him and Eddie, didn't they? They usually took it in turns. One would do the dummy, and one would come in and smash it. And I do remember. I think both Youngie and Howe scored from those. I think.
Yeah, I think they did. I remember he scored one on a Boxing Day against Gillingham. I think around about 97.
Yeah.
I mean, his last goal for us wasn't so good. It was remember we were losing to Torquay and 1-0, and we pumped it up forward. Fletch knocked it down, and he actually handballed it over the line, but it was given. He never called it back, but he handballed it over the line.
Was that the same game that Paul Mitchell scored in the other end?
Possibly, could have been. But I know they beat us that day, so it might not have been. Might have been that was a cup game that Paul Mitchell scored. I'm not sure if this was a cup game or a league game.
Oh, right, okay.
But Younger at right back, Coxey at centre back. Again, he had to be there. Wasn't one of my favourite players, but he was one of the best players we had at that era. Just so good on the ball. Every time he had the ball at his feet, you knew. You never worried when he had the ball at his feet. Some defenders, they have the ball at the feet, you panic, don't you? But every time Coxey had it, you were sort of relatively reassured. Yeah,
that's probably the midfielder in him.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, being a midfielder coming up through his youth and at Palace, obviously he was going to be calm on the ball.
Yeah, true.
So that's probably where and then he just developed into the centre back role, and obviously, with his midfield skills, obviously he was good with his feet.
Yeah, true. And I always remember because he was so tall, players could have a 5-yard head start on him, and he'd always get back, and because he had such long legs,
very leggy, yeah.
He'd always have a perfect tackle for it. Great defender. So Coxey and then Eddie Howe had to be there, especially his first spell at Bournemouth. I don't think there's ever been a Bournemouth youngster coming through that's been as exciting as Howe. Even, he was, you could tell he was class. I knew we were only kids, but you could tell he was class. Everybody knew what he was about. Being, like you said, being capped by England under 21s being from a small club like Bournemouth, it doesn't happen, you know. So, yeah, Eddie Howe was always going to be in this. Jamie Vincent, left back. Apart from probably Charlie Daniels, I didn't put Paul Morell in because I don't think I ever saw him play. But apart from Charlie Daniels, I think Jamie Vincent is probably the other best left back I think we've had in my time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's got to be, definitely them two. But I don't think you can forget Warren Cummings easily.
Cummings was quality. He would be a contender for the team of the 90's, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Vincent was very, very good. He took a good free kick, could deliver a good corner. Like, yeah, he was very good. Like always reliable. Again, he could do a good tackle. He had a good link up down the left wing. Yeah, great player, Jamie Vincent. Sadly missed now. Right mid. Yeah. John Bailey always tried hard. He had a good link up with Younger. Wasn't the most skillful player or the most technically gifted, but like you said, crunched into a tackle. Always committed. Gave his all. Played a lot of games for us. Scored that goal at Wembley. No one else ever scored for Bournemouth at Wembley, of course. So, yeah, he had to be right wing. Moving into the centre of midfield, it's always going to be Steve Robinson and Matty Holland. You know that. I think if you take it, even if you sort of forget about the Premiership days, these two they would sort of fit in our team now, even if they were like, you know, at their peak, they would fit into our team as it is now. Don't you think?
Yeah, Matty Holland.
Yeah.
Matty Holland on his day, and even Steve Robinson, like would be on their would be. You know, I know it's a different type of football now, but I think they're sort of on their when they were at their peak at Bournemouth, they were so good. You know, Robbo had the long range shots. He was quite gritty in a tackle as well, wasn't he? He used to like getting a bit stuck in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like you said, when he stepped up for a penalty, you always knew he had a high chance of converting it. You know, we've had a lot of penalty takers after him. Probably after him until we had Pittman. We haven't had that many that we were quite confident we're going to score.
Mm.
You know, we had a few like Wader. He took them, didn't he? He didn't score that many of them. You know, we had a few that have not been overly successful.
Yeah, I think Richard Hughes took over when Robbo left, didn't he?
Richard Hughes, yeah. He wasn't very successful from the penalty spot.
He started converting them, didn't he, at first? And I think he had a couple of misses, and then he was taken off them, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember who started taking them after Richard Hughes. But yeah, those two had to be in. I put Matty Holland as captain just because he was a great captain. It was tough between him and Coxey, you know.
I didn't choose a captain for mine.
Again, had to be left wing. Left wing had to be Klaus Jorgensen for me. Krista Warren was decent at left wing because he got made into a left winger, and even Brissett on his day was very good as well.
Yeah, Brissett. Yeah.
But Brissett had too many. He would have like one or two good games and have 4 or 5 where you just didn't see him.
Yeah.
But Jorgensen was very good.
Definitely more consistent than Brissett. Yeah.
I don't think I can remember that many bad games from Jorgensen, you know. For someone that didn't have much pace, he always, you know, he was a bit like Pugh, you know, he just always seemed to deliver. You know, so we've always been quite lucky on left wing. Obviously up top, you have to have Fletch, don't you? Because it's Fletch in it.
Yeah, big end's got to always be there.
The amount of goals he set up for people alone are in the hundreds, aren't they?
Yeah. I wonder what defenders thought when they come up against Big Fletch.
Well, probably.
I'm in for a very, very tough game. I mean, the physical side of it, the game was different back then, and Fletch was, you know, always a big bloke and got bigger over the years, and you know, even if you were the same height as Fletch, you were always going to have a battle on your hands because
you're always going to come off.
Of him.
Yeah, you're always going to come off second to him, weren't you?
Oh yeah, of course you were. I mean, you know, in the air, you know, I mean, whether he was heading at goal or flicking the ball on. You know, you wouldn't want. I mean, if I was 6'6" or 7 or whatever, and I was marking him, if you saw the team sheet and you saw Steve Fletcher's name not on there, you think, oh, okay, that's one problem we haven't got to defend against today. But when you see his name on there, if you were an opposition defender, you'd think, oh God, here we go.
Yeah,
because he was just so physical, and like I say, his game was all about, for me watching him as a fan, his game was all about holding the ball up and creating for his strike partner.
Yeah, definitely,
which he did for so successfully over the years. I mean, like your next guy would tell anybody.
Definitely.
He was one of the ones that always complimented Fletcher's presence alongside him.
Yeah, well, like you said, I went for Stino instead of Steve Jones, but that is literally the only change between our starting 11s.
Yeah,
I think it's both solid, to be honest.
That is the only change, and I've got.
It was a hard one for Jones, between Jones and Stino for me, and it was just a hairline in it.
Yeah, me too. To be fair, but I just went the other way. But so I went for Stino just because his pace and the way him and Fletch linked up just made it for me. That was the only difference. But our starting 11 is like bang on, I think. And if you look at my subs as well, I went for Jimmy instead of Jimmy Glass. I had Mark Morris as well. I had Kyle Fletcher because he made his debut in '97, and he played a lot of games in '99. Played like 33 games in '99. So, and he was versatile. He played midfield or defence. So I included Kyle Fletcher.
Your manager, I definitely agree with.
Yeah, he was the only manager we had when I supported him, really.
It's obviously
O'Driscoll didn't start until 2000, did he?
Yeah, that's right. And obviously, Harry obviously would be manager of the 80s.
Yeah.
One of the best managers of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, Tony Pulis's reign wasn't so fruitful, should we say?
Yeah.
All great. And obviously, under Mel, we had the Great Escape. We had Wembley. We had promotion near misses, playoff near misses and that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and on the carrying on with the bench, I had John O'Neill, again, for the same reason as you, very versatile, could play up front, could play midfield. Again, hater, because in the 90s, he was sort of used as right wing or up front. And Jonah, So, yeah, very similar. This is quite good. We don't even need to do a combined one because we've got the same team.
No, exactly. That makes it a lot easier. Makes it a lot easier. But, Mr. Fletch will be happy again, I'm sure. But then again, he deserves it. He deserves it.
Good.
But, of course, we've had one pre-season friendly. Or one pre-season friendly at Dean Court. And that was against Bristol City. Now, I'm very much of the view that pre-season friendlies don't really matter, but you want to see glimpses of what we can do moving forwards. But don't know if we really saw that. We saw it in places, but
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Friendlies, you're spot on. Friendly results. When I go to the friendlies, I look at. Maybe I watch the game a lot differently than when I watch a league game or a cup game or whatever.
Yeah.
I will look at the new tactics that the manager's trying out. Like maybe trying personnel in different positions, like he did on Saturday. It doesn't matter whether you get spanked 4-0. If the performance is good and the performance is right, then you can take something away from it. And it's pre-season, you build on it. To lose 1-0 to a penalty the other day, for me, that's not important. If you look from the starting lineup, What really stood out for me was Rovwell. I thought had a very good game. His passing ability looks really, really good. And I think for me, he may have to start against Villa. I was that impressed with him. And then if you look at the back, Lerma made him captain, slotted him into like the middle of the back five. What it looked like. But to be fair, he won pretty much everything in the air. I mean, I was really impressed with how he got up and won in the air. And that asks you a question. It asked myself a question in my head. Has he tried him there? I know they said Kelly had a niggle on Saturday, so obviously you're not going to rest him. And then obviously all the transfer rumours come out. People were talking around the ground. Oh, Kelly's not in today. He must be going somewhere. But obviously nothing has materialised as yet. So obviously he was out with a niggle. And that gave obviously maybe Parker the opportunity to try this, and maybe he's thinking, if he can't sign an experienced centre back, and he may feel that Mepham might not be strong enough to start. I mean, the youngster Hill did very well. I thought another player that played really well. But maybe is he thinking, is Lerma an option to go alongside Kelly?
Now, it's very possible.
And then that then creates a space in the midfield to then bring Rothwell in. I mean, I'm obviously just speculating, but there was a reason why he played him in the middle of that back five on Saturday. But I was quite impressed with Lerma. Solanke, again, was looking good. What we really need is for him to get a goal early in the season. Keep his confidence going. Obviously, goals create confidence, and I think the sooner he gets his first goal of the season, the better.
I wonder if he's going to look at doing a fluid formation. So, with regards to Lerma, if we're on top and need to control the midfield a little bit more, what we could do is we could move Lerma further up. However, if we're up against it, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, those sort of teams, then he can drop back, but he can move forwards and back as Parker needs be. And I think that might be an option. With Lerma. So effectively, we can play with the back five, but then change it to back four and bump one into midfield, effectively, Lerma. So do let us know in the comments what you think about that idea, but that's something that jumps out in my mind, and maybe that's why he's testing. But personally, I think we do need another centre back. I hope that person is Nat Phillips. I hope Liverpool aren't holding us to ransom still about it. They've had enough money over the years. Just let us bloody buy him for the club's not going to listen to me, but at the same time, something needs to happen, doesn't it, really, on it?
I did read earlier on in the week, we were linked with a Liverpool defender, the really tall young guy.
Vander something,
Sorry, say again?
Seb Vander, someone,
Van der Berg, is it? Something like that?
So,
I mean, there's still little bits of talk, but I mean, it's the same like we've said since the start of pre-season. Centre back is somewhere that we feel, we probably should address. I know we're linked heavily today to Middlesbrough winger Tavernier, is it?
Tavernier,
yeah. I mean, nothing against the player, but I mean, is that a position that's a priority?
No, I don't think so. To be honest, I've seen contrasting views from Middlesbrough fans. Some Middlesbrough fans are gutted to see him go because he's a young player. They think he's going to progress on. Some think, well, it's just not worth it. He's not going to make it, and that he's a bit too greedy on the ball, which of course is something we had with a certain Mr. Ibe beforehand. So that is it depends what way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting fee being bashed about, and I've heard 10 million, and then this afternoon I heard 12.5 million.
Yeah. Apparently it's 10 million with
so,
2.5 add-ons, apparently.
Oh, is that what it is it? So, I mean, there's all sorts of money rumors going about associated with him. I just don't. I mean, for me, we've got Brooksy back, and that's fantastic. And like I've said before, that'd be, I think, like a new signing for us next year. And I think he's a lot more suited to the Premier League. I think Christie, again, good season last year, and I think he'll develop on again. We got wide players like Stanislas coming back from injury.
Yeah.
I just think, Dembele, exciting youngster. I mean, you can go through the team and there's be more that we could name that can play in those wide positions. And I
don't think we need another one, really.
No.
I personally don't. Obviously, Scott Parker and the board, they're obviously, and obviously the likes of Richard Hughes and Simon Francis have obviously got a vision, and obviously they see the squad day in, day out. So obviously, we just got to trust what's going on at the moment. But I mean, just from a fan's point of view, looking in, and you break down the squad, and it's like the goalkeeper. I know we've got Smithy's training with us. He's been a decent goalkeeper over the years. So again, I mean, you need that experience behind a youngster, Travs, just to encourage the guy. I mean, like
I think that's what's always going to be difficult is we're not going to get a goalkeeper in who wants to play second fiddle, who is up and coming. It's going to have to be, and I thought that's why McCarthy would have been an option.
Like I say, I mean, I think I've said it before. For me, Ben Foster.
Yeah.
He's even come out and said on one of his podcasts, or it was some interview I saw him doing, and he said he's at the stage of his career now where he's willing to be a number 2 to a young keeper, up and coming keeper. Be on the bench, but be that keeper's biggest cheerleader. Happily playing some cup games, but he's really one of those that seems to want to get in behind a young keeper and pass his knowledge and his experience on. Now, I mean, 2 keepers straight away spring to mind that would be perfect for, and that's Travs and someone like Aaron Ramsdale. Get someone like him behind those 2 young goalkeepers, and I mean, I think for me, Ben Foster's a fantastic goalkeeper. At the age he is now, and if you had him sat on the bench, and for some reason he had to come on, you would be worried because he's got bags and bags of experience. Smithy's brings a lot of experience. I mean, he's played a lot of games. I mean, he was at Huddersfield for a long, long time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes. But obviously, that position needs filling.
I think we'll have to wait and see how the next week pans out. Really, hopefully there'll be some more.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure there's some potential targets up their sleeve. And the thing is, I've always liked about our transfer dealings is that we have kept things close to our chest. And I think if I was a manager working within a club and I had targets, or I was a technical director or something, that's how I'd want it to be.
Definitely.
Because let the press talk. But I mean, this even this season, there's not been. I haven't seen the rumour mill really active for Bournemouth either. Like normally, Bournemouth are linked to this player, Bournemouth are linked to that player. But at the moment, I've not seen. If Nottingham Forest and Fulham were linked to a player, they'd mention Bournemouth as well. And I've not seen a lot of that either.
No.
So it's been quite all round. But I mean, I just think, after Saturday's performance, there was some real good individual performances, but I think overall, not an overly convincing team performance.
No. I agree with that.
I think actually, the opposition come this week, don't they? And it'd be interesting to see how we play against Real Sociedad.
That'd be interesting. So
that would be an interesting one.
I've just had a look behind you, and on our kit show the other day, Matt, I was talking about that turquoisey glass. Is that the one, the Defoe shirt you've got behind you?
Yeah,
I think that is. Now this shirt, I tell you what, couldn't find anywhere. Whoops.
Matt's shirt's falling down again.
Sorry to anybody as well who's been watching. That's the one. That's the beauty. And I tell you what, that sold out straight away. That was probably
nice
a day
colour.
one, wasn't it? It is a lovely colour.
That was one of the first like Umbro shirts that I thought, wow, different.
Very nice. That.
I tell you what, let's zoom in on that, because that, look at that. That is a sexy shirt. And I think that has to be one of my favourites. But supposedly they run out of the colour. This is what I got told. So I don't know where.
Traditionally, with a third shirt, they obviously don't produce as many normally.
Yeah.
Because obviously the best seller will always be your home shirt, and then your away shirt, and then your third shirt. Traditionally, it's like with Liverpool. I mean, I used to work in sports retail, and Liverpool third shirts were like gold dust. You used to get one of each size, and once they were gone, they were gone. You'd have to go to the club website, and 9 out of 10 times, by sort of, I reckon, October, November time, you'd be struggling to get them off the club website. So, third shirts normally they are the trickier ones.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure as always to have you on. I do apologise to anybody who's heard some sniffles. I was really poorly this week. Luckily, it was after the Harry interview and the Simon Day interview happened, so that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. But before we go, and I want to dedicate this show to these three men. So, of course, Bernie Morton passed away very recently, well known within the club as the kit man, well loved. But, of course, Mark Ovendale passed away a while back. And, of course, Jamie Vincent as well, very recently as well. So, our thoughts are with their loved ones as well at this time. And, yeah, they will forever be AFC Bournemouth legends.